What's up, guys? Welcome to The Smoking Tire. We are very lucky today because we have with us here at the headquarters Asif Kapadia, the producer and director of the film SENNA. Thank you so much for coming down and hanging out with us.
Nice to be here, man.
I love the film. It's great. Some people who are out there watching this will have not seen nor heard of the film. So give us the 30 seconds. Who is Ayrton Senna? What is this film?
Ayrton Senna is a Brazilian Formula One driver, probably considered the best driver of his generation, if not the best driver of all time.
Mm-hmm. So, chronicling his life.
Yeah, it's his journey. It's his life story. He won 3 world titles. He was this amazing human being. He's an amazing character, you know, and the things he stood up for. The film's just as much about what he meant away from the car as much as what he did, the amazing feats he did, winning the championships in the car.
You want to tell the quick story of this Mercedes 190 with Senna's name on it?
Senna, there was a race of champions of all the Formula One drivers who had won the championships. This new car was coming out, and the idea was they're going to put them all in an equal car, and they were going to race in Germany.
And he Senna, was a rookie at the time.
Yeah, he talked himself into the race. He wasn't supposed to be there at all. He went out and he just said he drove everyone off the track. Basically,
and he beat everybody.
He beat everyone.
Like
it's like it was a who's
Prost,
who. But even the kind of drivers from back in the day, Jackie Stewart, all these people,
right?
Everybody was there. And this young guy, the rookie, came through and won. Now, some people say he was taking it more seriously than others, but that's
still.
Senna had to win. That's what he lived for. Okay, he had to be number one. He had to be at the front. Whatever he did, very competitive, and that is a huge part of his character. And right at the very beginning, you know, he made a point by showing everyone, "I'm coming. Keep an eye out for me."
I think that is really the overwhelming theme of the movie is that Senna will not accept anything besides first place ever.
Yeah. That was his thing. He had to be leading. He had to be at the front. So he, in a way, that was a form of intimidation to other drivers. I'm coming through. You might as well get out of my way. I'm faster than you. I'm faster than you. You know that. I know that. If you don't get out of the way, we're probably going to have a crash. Right. We're probably going to have an accident.
That's the thing with Senna. It was he made it so clear that, listen, I'm going for this gap. So either get out of my way or we're both going to the wall.
He did have incidents. He did have crashes with people. But then the next time, you know, he's coming round and they see that yellow helmet in the rear view mirrors, they get out of the way. And it worked. And that was part of his technique. But, you know, even if you raced him, he would be faster than you anyway. So eventually, a lot of drivers just let him through. You know? He was as fast as everything. You know, he could put his car on the limit and just over the limit, but then keep it on the track.
Yeah. Some of that, the in-car stuff you see from Monaco qualifying, from racing in the rain, and like you watch him doing this, and you don't even realize how it's possible.
Yeah, one-handed.
One-handed, driving stick.
Stick shift, one-handed, around 160 miles an hour around Monaco
1,200 horsepower cars with no aerodynamics. You know,
I mean, it's just amazing. You know, that Lotus car was one of the most powerful Formula One cars ever.
Yeah.
And he would do things that, you know, other people just couldn't even contemplate doing.
And in the film, when you're watching him drive, especially in the Monaco scene, there is almost no point at any time during that lap where that car has full traction. Even going straight, it's this.
Yeah, that's his style. He kind of twitches around corners.
It's karting.
You know?
It's the karting. He was the first driver, I think, to really bring karting to big cars.
That's what they said. They said he brought the techniques, because in karting, people do touch each other. You know, it's quite normal. And so they said that's what he did. He brought that kind of technique in. You know, the opening of our film is Monaco '84. Where it's the toughest track, it's the best drivers, there's so many world champions, he qualifies 13th.
In a bad car,
In a bad car, Tolman, which was famous for having a really long turbo lag. You know, you put your foot down and you're already around a corner and then it kicks in. So he took that car from 13th right away up to second. He overtook Lauda, he overtook Rosberg, he overtook so many world champions. People like Mansell couldn't stay on the track, you know, they crashed out. And he got up to Prost and was catching Prost and maybe would have overtaken him. But then something happens because of the weather being so bad.
At the risk of giving it away, we don't want to give away what happens because it's a very crucial scene in the film.
It's a key kind of twist. It's the first real meeting between Senna and Prost and the authorities who run the sport. And that's really the politics of Formula One are vital to the sport.
So is it fair to Prost? Does he come out as more of a villain than he really is?
I think we tried to show an honest representation of what was happening at the time. You know, of all the footage that we saw. We're not putting words into anyone's mouth. We're trying to show as much as possible.
Yeah, the old footage doesn't lie.
Yeah, you know, the way the film is constructed is entirely of the original archive. Now, when I came into the movie, I'm a sport fan. I remember Formula One of the time. I remember it of the period. I remember the rivalry. The rivalry was, you know, one of those rivalries like Ali Frazier or Borg McEnroe. It's two really good, brilliant geniuses at what they do. at the same period of time coming to the top of the sport, but having very different personalities, very different techniques to do what they do.
Yeah.
You know, so it was one of those, you know, like boxing, styles make fights. These guys are the opposite styles.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. One of them had to win, one of them had to be at the front, one of them was passionate, which is Senna. And Prost was a cooler, more kind of intellectual, or the persona that he had was being the professor. That's what I called him, okay? He thought it all through, he was more clinical, he was more political maybe. That's just the way they were. Okay, one of them talked a lot about his faith. One of them didn't like the idea of talking about God when you're driving a car at 200 miles an hour. So what we tried to show is what happened. Now, Senna is famous particularly for a series of accidents that happened between them. That's why their rivalry crossed over. They got to the point where their rivalry became so bitter that they would crash into one another to stop the other one winning. Okay, that's what started happening. Now, Prost did that in a way that sums up his character. He did it at the slowest point of the track. Didn't even scratch his car. There was no damage to his car. There's nothing wrong with it. But he knew he'd won the title, got out, walked off. Senna, a year later, gets his revenge by doing it at a really fast point on the track.
It sends them both into the wall.
Game over, right? I'm taking you out. Now, that is a terrible incident. I do not recommend it. 160 miles an hour crashing into somebody. But once you understand what happened to him and you track back and you understand his motivation, you kind of get it.
I mean, when you see the film and it's like, okay, 1 year later, tables have turned. It's like, you don't even have to watch. You're like, oh yeah, he's putting him in the wall right now.
You know what's going to happen. And so that incident in itself, if you look at that, people think, you know, Senna's really dangerous. And that really did sully his reputation with a lot of journalists, a lot of fans. But our aim was just to show what had happened and what motivated him to do that. And once you see that, I think then you understand, even though I wouldn't recommend it, you understand why he did what he did.
I had no idea until I saw the piece on Top Gear and then subsequently your film. Just quite how much better he was than everybody else. I mean, it's almost a whole other level. And to see him beating other Formula One drivers by that huge of a margin in such crazy cars.
Sometimes in the same car. You know,
in the same car.
Out-qualified Prost by a second around Monaco. It was unheard of. You know, Prost was considered the best driver of his generation. The young guy Senna comes along in the same team, and in the first year when they're teammates, just wins the World Championship. He comes from, you know, he can stall on the grid, come from 14th and win a race. You know, so he was kind of superhuman. He's like a superhero, some of the things that he did in the car.
There's really no analysis of why he crashed, what caused it, what killed him.
Well, there is a moment afterwards when we have three opinions. There are three key opinions. One is which, you know, was it to do with tire pressures because they were behind a safety car, that the car skated?
The steering column.
Is it because the steering column broke and therefore it went straight?
Just the bad handling of the car.
What we can say is it's not even considered a corner by Formula One drivers, okay? That's considered a straight. You take it flat.
People just don't go off there.
You don't make a mistake there. And historically, the people have had crashes there, something broke in their car. Berger had a horrific accident there in '89. Piquet had a terrible accident there earlier. Something happened to the car. And so, you know, pretty much what we can say, and Martin Brundle's looked at our film, seen it, and said when he looks at that in-car lap, that car is handled him perfectly. Because it's not the first lap after the safety car. That would have been the one where the tire temperatures are cold. The temperatures would have picked up by the time we were on the lap, which actually where he has his accident. So therefore, for him, the car is handling absolutely perfectly. Something had to go wrong with the car.
So you've seen all the footage and you think the car killed him?
No, this is really important. Something happened to the car for him to go straight to hit the wall. But that would not have killed him. It wasn't the worst accident he's had in his career.
It was the random occurrence.
The fact is, it's about 15 things that had to happen in a line perfectly in order for him to have died. The fact is he hit the wall at the exact angle that the front right wheel came off at the exact point when it came spinning. The suspension arm on the wheel pierced his helmet. If it had gone 6 inches that way, it would have missed him. 6 inches that way, it would have missed him. But it literally hit him right through, just above the visor. Now, he didn't have a broken bone, he didn't have any bruising. Okay, we've heard that from a neurosurgeon who was the first person on the site. So it was, if you believe in God, it's an act of God. If you don't, it is unbelievable bad luck for that to have happened. But if you are a Formula One driver and you drive at those limits and those speeds, then, you know, at some point you're going to have an accident.
There is a lot to go, a lot to learn, a lot to do. But I have plenty of time. Pure driving, real racing. That makes me happy.